Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Francesca and Stan Levine from Australia. They are the only Australian couple trained to teach hot monogamy and a lot of therapy to those that need it. They are a very powerful couple with a wonderful story full of love and hope. And we got into their history and what will help couples and what has helped. We get into so much more. Enjoy this interview. So it's great to meet you two. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Thank you for being fascinated.
Yeah, that's the key to life. I mean, it almost sounds like the power of what you're talking about is about fascination. So where exactly in Australia are you calling from?
We're in the number one city of Melbourne, Victoria.
Okay. I need to get there someday. I always hear how beautiful it is.
Yeah, just check that we're not in lockdown.
Yeah, right. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's the first thing that I wanted to ask about. How did you survive in what you do, your business? How did you survive COVID? How did you get through it? And how are you guys doing now?
Well, we were, dare I say it, lucky in that we were able to work from home because, of course, you couldn't leave home really. And we did everything on Zoom. And being an essential service, of course, with an increase in mental health issues, we were severely under demand, I'm very sad to say. So business-wise, we didn't survive. We grew. Relationship-wise, it was wonderful because it's great to be stuck with someone you like. You know? It's the people who were stuck together who, you know, had issues that were exacerbated because they couldn't get away from each other or their children. That was so sad and tragic. But at least we could help a number of them. But we did, look, I'm almost embarrassed and guilty to say, look, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Well, I think...
I like being home.
Well, most of the people that I've talked to, other than musicians, have been okay with the lockdown and with being at home and, you know, kind of slowing life down. So, no, I don't think I think it's a weird guilt human beings have now that we're coming out of it, but I think it's totally, absolutely applaudable that people embraced it because that's just the way it was. We had no other choice. So I'm curious, break down for me, like I'm in grade school, break down for me exactly what you guys do for a living.
My wife, Francesca, is a psychologist. I'm a couples counsellor and we both work together. Occasionally we see couples together as well, where there's 4 of us in the room, but mostly we have our own clients. And we love what we do. We're very passionate about our work, and that's it.
Well, I also work with individuals. I do group therapy. I also do training. And I have a lot of fun. I know that might sound weird, but I think that fun is a huge element missing in people's lives, and especially with people being depressed and anxious. First of all, if they can have a bit of a laugh at themselves, it's really an opening to transforming the mind into being more flexible and seeing options. And it's just exciting and beautiful to see people transform in front of our eyes. I'm like, we're really privileged. You know, and it's all a mystery, really, to see what unfolds in front of you. My God, I've been doing this for 40 years and I'm still not bored. I mean, I've done other things as well, which informs what I do, of course. I've had an import-export agency. I've worked in fashion. I've been a high school teacher, a wife, a mother. I want to say up front, the best thing I've ever done is have 2 children. That's been my best and still is my best career. That may be not very women's libby, but I don't care.
Well, let me ask you this. You obviously are very happy. It's very rare to find that people are together for a long, long time because somehow human beings don't have that tendency of doing that often. What has it been about you two and why you still have this love and likability for each other after all these years?
Okay, so that's an often asked question. When I do the couples workshop, I say, I have had 3 husbands, and people look really shocked. And I go, oh, it's okay, but it's with the same person. So one of the key things is to change things up, to grow and keep that passion and excitement going. You know, a lot of relationships die of boredom. Seriously. They flatline. So my husband made a mistake or a gem years ago. He said a woman should be mysterious. Well, let me tell you, every day with me is a mystery, even to me. So it's very much a secret to do what you did when you first met. You know, you want to be in love, do what you did when you were in love. It's not rocket science, is it? How hard is it? You see, people stop making so-called efforts that they would make when they first met. Get to know each other. Do things that you want to do instead of sitting at home and doing nothing and taking each other for granted like a piece of furniture. No, that would bore me to tears.
Well, most couples that we see, usually after the first few months or maybe longer, but a year or two, they do start taking each other for granted. Because life gets in the way and they allow their relationship to be pushed further and further down the ladder of life. You know, children come along, they've got mortgages, other pressures, health pressures, family issues, and they just take their partner for granted and just assume they don't have to do anything. And that's one of the worst things that you can do.
Yeah, they say life gets in the way, and I say, in the way of what?
Well, in the way of the relationship.
No, I understand, but in the way of what? There's a reason to be even more together when you've got things to face. You know, adversity, if you want to call it that, is an excuse to grow. It's not an excuse to separate. It's an excuse to get together and be more than what you were before.
I think the trouble is that when people are confronted by issues in their lives, they tend to blame their partner and put their partner down, instead of trying to put their heads together and work out what they can do to overcome and deal with the challenge. And they forget how to laugh, which is a very big factor, which is what you mentioned before. And that if there's conflict, they see that as a way of trying to prove they're right and the other person's wrong, instead of trying to use it as a basis for learning about the differences between them and appreciating those differences and growing from it.
Curiosity, not criticism, is a key to our growing relationship. You know, so, okay, you're doing a behaviour that I may determine I don't like. I could use 25 criticisms or, and I'm not saying I never do, being a human being, we have our moments. But it's much more interesting to be curious and say, can you tell me what that's about? And have genuine interest. So we're still very interested in each other. And you don't ever really know a person, and how exciting is that? When I say really know, because you've got to keep growing, you've got to keep taking in life and be passionate about it. Because as far as I know, this is it. I wouldn't miss out on knowing and doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. I understand that. And I think the one thing I'm always fascinated about when I run into folks that are helping people figure out marriage and love and relationships is that the basis of every good movie, every good song, books, everything is about a mate and finding love, and somehow we human beings have such a hard time doing it. So my question to you is, being so close to the matter, what do you see as one of the very common things that couples can fix that will help their relationship immediately, that they just don't see, that if they were aware of it, they could take care of it?
Oh, it's easy. So what attracted you in the first place? Because they've forgotten. And, you know, within 5 minutes at less, you see their faces transform. It's really simple. What attracted you in the first place? And they start going through, oh, well, what I liked was this and what I liked was that. And say, okay, how does that feel? And you get into the feelings that were there originally. That's not so hard. The challenge is for those who can't remember. So say, well, what do you see in people who do like each other? Right? It's a case of getting them to feel safe with each other, to clean up the space between them, which has become full of criticism, and to look at what do you appreciate about each other? Why are you here? The fact that you're here shows courage, and that's helpful, right? How long have you been together? You must have some strengths. What are they? And they might enumerate them, and often do, one or two, and we build on that. So what it is straight away is to shift the mind from negativity to positivity. There's something good in everything.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things we do very early on when we see a couple is teach them a little exercise which is called appreciations, where they actually look at each other and formally tell something beautiful or good about the other person that's important to them. And they're quite stunned sometimes, and the response often is, I just didn't know you thought that about me. And that's because they take each other for granted and don't think they need to say anything like that.
May I give an example? I saw a couple a few weeks ago who were ready to divorce, and I did this exercise, and he said, what I appreciate about you is you cook for me. And she sat up in the chair with tears in her eyes, and she said, that's oxygen to me. That's oxygen to me. And I said to him, hey, you've just breathed life into your marriage. And they both sat up and gave each other a hug and just cried. So a simple exercise like that is so powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And you know, I'm curious, with everything that you've said so far, you've given me such good groundwork here. I'm curious, you know, we all have accomplishments and things we do as individuals, but as a couple, since that's really the theme here, what are you two proudest of as a couple that you've done together?
Our children.
You mean work-wise or in life?
Anything. I mean, I think it's all inseparable probably with what you do, but overall, together as a unit.
Okay, so for me personally, what I'm proudest of is the loving energy between us. And I think, despite all, I can speak for myself, I have the wall full of 50 qualification certificates. It's not that. It's the energy between us. They walk in and they go, I want that. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I do take that for granted. We might be in the queue somewhere and people will come up and say, if you just married again. No. So, speaking for myself, what I'm proudest of is the love that flows. And it's palpable. People pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, they walk in to the room and they walk out transformed. And as the Beatles say, it's all about love, isn't it? So I'm proud that we have, I believe, if I can speak for you, sweetheart, we have the right values about what matters really. And what matters really is to love each other, because with that you can come through anything. So I'm very proud of our love and the fact that it's still growing. What about you, sweetheart?
I'm proud of that fact too. Also, how amazingly we have raised two incredible kids who are so happy in their relationships because of the example they've seen with us. And they themselves have raised between them 5 incredible grandchildren, and they're already beginning to go into their relationships. And it's for me, it is so exciting to see that it's just going down the generations. And so often we see that people who are in trouble in their relationship, it's almost like it's inherited. You know, their parents had shit relationships. Well, sorry, am I able to say that?
Yeah, please do.
And even their parents, like the grandparents, didn't have good relationships. And it just goes through the family, and it needs people who are powerful and strong to be able to turn that around. And most people don't get taught how to be in a relationship. It is a basic life skill, and I believe it should be taught in school. I don't know what it's like over there where you are, but it doesn't get taught in school here, and I think that's appalling. So the only time people start to learn about it, in most cases, is when their relationship is in trouble.
How great is that? That's an excuse to learn.
Yeah.
I reframe everything. I look for the shit. I look for the gold in the shit.
Yeah.
My friend.
No, you're good. You're good. You know, I'm curious, of all the couples that you've helped in your life, what's been the best success story? What's the one story that always resonates with you, that makes you proud?
I've got a current one where I started off with a guy that you would call narcissistic, totally self-absorbed, had several other relationships going, and he's transformed himself. It's okay to have other relationships, it's the way that was done that wasn't okay. When I say it's okay, if you have a fully upfront and ruled open marriage, that's fine. And what's happened with both of them, he's a young guy who's currently dying. And they're trying now, and I'm trying to help them to get the ultimate freedom, which is a joyful, peaceful death. And I can't think of anything better to make the best of your life and then make the best of your death. That's it.
Yeah.
It's incredible when I think about it, I just tear up. The transformation in those two, you wouldn't recognise them. So I'm proud of them, really. And they've worked so hard to be so loving. Have you heard of Rumi? He's a wonderful Persian poet.
Yeah.
And he says something like, our job is not to seek for love, but to remove the barriers within us to find it. And that's really what we do. And then the love that's always there comes out. So I'm very proud of this couple who are loving each other literally to death.
So, yeah, go ahead.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that is.
It's an amazing situation for this couple, and the fact that Francesca's how she sees them.
What about you?
Oh, well, for me, I don't have anyone specific, but what I love is when I see a couple that I've been seeing for a while, and they say to me, we wouldn't be together without you. And I say to them, that it's not me, it's you're doing the work. I'm just facilitating you, I'm just giving you the tools to use. If you don't use the tools, nothing's going to change. So you're using the tools, transforms your relationship. And it's not a Band-Aid. These are tools that people, once people take them up, they're there for the rest of their lives. And it's just wonderful, because I keep in touch with a lot of clients over the years who finished, if I may put it that way, and they tell me that they're still using the stuff that they learned. And that warms my heart to know that we're successful in that.
It's helping the planet, transforming one relationship at a time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree. So everyone out there has this perception of you as a couple. You know, your family, your friends, your clients, your children, but ultimately you have the inside seat. What is your perception of you two as a unit, as a couple? Who do you think you are?
Who are we?
Helpers.
Guides. Is that the sort of thing you're asking? Or who we are, is what are our values, who are we as people?
No, it's open. It's open to interpretation, and I think you're hitting it.
I think we're loving beings. we're loving beings, and even in our moments, so long as we remember the essence of who we are, we come back to that. So basically, I think we're loving beings who've come from the light, and eventually we'll go back there. And hopefully we're lightening the darkness in other people's lives. And sometimes our own, you know, because we've had some adversities, and we've come through them all bigger, better, stronger, more loving. So, yeah, I think basically it comes back to being loving beings and removing those obstacles within us. It's all right, just to get back to your basic essence. You look at a baby. They bubble, they gurgle, they don't look at you and go, okay, now when are you going to hit me? Or, you know, with words or whatever. They're ready for love. And then they learn, sadly, and to some extent well, what's in the way of that. So we've unlearned a lot of those obstacles. So I think we're loving beings.
See, there's no perfect relationship, and ours isn't perfect either. There's no such thing, because we're human beings, and we have gone through what almost every other couple goes through, but we've dealt with it instead of falling apart, and we've used whatever we could to stay together and get stronger.
So how do you see yourself?
How do I see myself?
He's very cute, by the way.
All right.
He's really cute. He's the hottest grandfather in town.
How do I see myself? I see myself in the mirror. That's how I see myself.
Oh, you're Johnny. Come on.
How do I see I really do see myself as someone who is there to help other people. And that's just why I love what I do.
He's got the biggest heart and the best hug you can imagine.
I love it. I'll tell you, you two are this is a very inspirational, very real, solid look into who you are and what you're doing. I really appreciate it, and I can feel it. I can feel all of it coming through in this interview. And before we get out of the proverbial digital door here, I want to make sure that everyone out there that wants to either hire you, know more about you, reach out, anything pertaining to you, where can they go and do that?
Thank you.
Joe, your questions are really beautiful and incisive. So that really helps. You're good at this.
Thank you.
You've done it before.
Yeah, I've done it a few times before, yeah.
You sound really interested, and that comes across. And, being interested is really one of the biggest respects you can provide for anyone.
Yeah.
And it's genuine. That comes across. You really want to know and you want to learn about us.
Yeah.
It's not an ego thing, it's a learning and a growth thing. Like, I feel better for talking to you, And it's really early in the morning, and I'm not sick in the morning, but I feel inspired.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, relationships, music, romance, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.